Hey, this is Mark Henry, author of Dancing with Energy, Healing Magic and Mysticism. Well, I tried to get Knight to come out here and say hello to y'all, but he told me that he wants no part of this creepy video that I'm about to do. Okay, so the topic of the video today is the black-eyed children. So, as far as the black-eyed children are concerned, this was, it's not first reported in 1996, but it became part of, I guess, the public's attention in 1996 when a journalist named Brian Bethel was driving home from work. He went to a strip mall to go and pay his internet bill, put it through the time slot. He was writing his check while in his car. He noticed that there was no one around except him in the parking lot. And as he was writing the check, he all of a sudden saw two young boys. He placed them at being the ages around 10 to 12. And they immediately knocked on his window. So he thought that was kind of strange that he didn't see them walk up. So he rolled down the window, and the boy, which he called the spokesman, the one who did all the talking, the other one kind of stayed back. I guess the one who's talking was almost like the alpha, you know. He said, "Can you give us a ride?" And Brian was like, "A ride where? What are your parents? What is all this about?" And he said, "We want to see Mortal Kombat, and we don't have enough money, so we'd like you to give us a ride home, get some money, and bring us back." Now, what Brian noticed, which was really creepy, is that he looked at these two kids' eyes, and they were completely black. No iris, no pupil, just like a void, just blackness. So he immediately became frightened. He also looked. He could see the movie theater from the car window. As he looked out, he saw that Mortal Kombat had been already playing. Was the last one of the evening, and had already been playing for an hour. So even if he went and decided to bring these kids home, get their money, bring them back, they would only catch maybe 15 minutes of it. So he was thinking, so why are they coming and doing this now? The movie's almost over. Now, that being said, the spokesman was speaking at a particular rhythm, almost like a hypnotic tone. And he was well-spoken, and he found that it was strange that he was that well-spoken for somebody that young. He didn't appear to have some of the characteristics and behaviors of a young child. It was more like, almost like he was talking to an adult who had been practicing, you know, what they were going to say. So he saw himself, he felt almost like compelled mentally, like the kids could be exerting some type of influence. He found himself reaching over to unlock the back seat to let them in, but he caught himself, and it was just too much for him. Now the spokesman noticed that Brian was scared. He perceived that, and he said, "Sir, we're not going to hurt you." That didn't sit well with him. So Brian decided to, turn the key. He said, I'm sorry guys, I can't help you. At that point, the spokesman said, "Sir, we can't enter without your permission." At that point, he put in reverse and took off. When he was about 30, 40 yards away, he looked back and the kids were completely gone, like they were never there. Now, I encourage you, if you're interested in that story, to go on YouTube Brian Bethel, because I saw an interview with him And he's very convincing, very non-assuming guy. He's intelligent. He doesn't have any bent towards the paranormal either way. And he basically says that this telling the stories actually probably hurt his career more as a journalist than it's helped that he makes no money from this. But that is, if you want to trace back to the beginning of this sort of thing as far as our knowing about it. There have been reports for decades prior to 1996 that shows, kind of a stories here and there of these black-eyed children. The next story I want to relate was by an author, paranormal author, Nick Furnell, who in one of his books talks about a gentleman named Martin. Now, Martin is a truck driver who had just gone through a 2-week run across the country in his 18-wheeler. He came back and he was looking forward to, having a night home, watching his TV shows, eating dinner, drinking a beer, and he started to settle in for the night when he heard knock. He looked, and there was a young boy and a young girl. He put them somewhere between, around the same age as Brian did, between, 10, 12, 9, 12, somewhere up in there. And the girl spoke. She said, "We're hungry, we need to eat." So now Martin made the mistake that Brian did not make the mistake of. He actually opened the door. He did feel compelled, like he lost his will at that moment. And he opened the door. And he had a blackout, he said. He doesn't remember walking back to the couch. But next thing he remembers, he was on the couch, and these 2 creepy children are standing over him. And the girl said, "Eat." Martin reports feeling fatigued, to feeling like his energy's just draining out of his body. And he was in kind of a semi-conscious trance-like state, and he knew he wasn't feeling well. So after a few minutes, he vaguely remembers the kids leaving out the door, same way that they came in. And for the next few days, he was just feeling ill. He was sleeping all the time. He felt increasingly hungry, like like he hadn't eaten, like he was hungry like the little girl. It took him several days to completely recover, to get back to 100%. Now, these particular kids, and you'll find some of these reports being similar in appearance. These children are usually very skinny, pale. Sometimes they're reported as having olive skin in appearance, but they all have those dark eyes. Those eyes that some would appear almost like evil looking, that they're not human. There's no human, human parts to their eyes. It's just emptiness. So, as far as the characteristics of these children, you'll find certain themes, characteristics, commonalities that are in them all. One is, in all the cases, they're asking permission to be let in. Now, this is curious because it reminds me, as a horror movie fan, of vampire lore and how the vampire can't enter without permission, or so the story goes. And there has to be some type of invitation. They're not forcing themselves in, they're being let in, and as being let in, it's almost like this implied permission. Now, I could talk about different things like this all day. When we talk about, I've done videos on parasitic entities that are not like that, they're just spiritual entities that will try to prey on your aura and suck life force from you. And I've talked to people who believe that some of this is unconscious, that you're not actually saying, hey, feed off my aura, feed off my energy field. But sometimes there are some subconscious things that somehow attract them, and some people say occult type of activities, some type of implied consent, but I don't want to get too far off onto that. But anyway, that's what that reminds me of. So there is a request for permission to enter. The second thing is these children speak extremely well. They have characteristics of the way an adult might speak, who have had years and years of speaking. They also have adult characteristics. They don't have some of the same awkwardness that children have of that age, so it's very strange to deal with them. Body language, everything is different. Their dress, their attire are just off. Sometimes they're reported to be wearing clothes that are decades out of fashion. Other times their clothes are not weather appropriate, wearing coats in the summer, or the converse when it's cold, not wearing any heavy clothes. It's just the whole experience is off. They're being very compelling with their speech, that they're exerting some type of mental force that is trying to entrain your mind and to let them in. So they're influencing but not forcing type of thing. There's usually two children. I've never really read of just one. Either two males or usually a male and a female. There's a report of being ill, feeling suddenly weak and fatigued. A quick story that I came across was, again, knock at the door. There was a couple home, a married couple. The lady goes to the door, looks through the peephole, and there are the two children. And what was strange is that she felt like that the two children somehow knew that she was behind the peephole because they smiled at her like, "Hey, you see me?" It's. They opened the door, and the girl said, "May we come in?" which was kind of strange. Felt like that was maybe a way of speaking that was, maybe something, mother, grandmother would have spoken instead of "can we come in," which is more common vernacular. And basically what they said was that they're trying to get a ride. They're trying to call. They want to call their parents to come pick them up. So the woman felt compelled, let him in. When they let them in, the electricity went out. They had already. She had thought they went to go to the phone. Electricity went out. The woman went to go and find them, and she found them in the hallway staring at her. The husband had been on the couch, and all of a sudden he started feeling bad, and he started bleeding through his nose. So in the hallway, the interaction was that the children told the wife that their parents are here and that they have to leave. So they left. They went out the door. The wife followed them, to the door. She looked out and she saw them walk up to two men in trench coats and a hat like a fedora. They got in the car and they left. Next couple weeks, for those couple weeks, the father had a lot of medical problems, and if I remember from the story, he got diagnosed with cancer. So there's the illness, there's the feeling of fatigue, and there is that possibility of them draining the energy from the inhabitants, possibly from the environment. That could explain why the electricity went out, that somehow there was an extraction of even electrical energy. But it's hypothesized that these entities are extracting more human energy than anything else. So that is the long and short of the black-eyed children. I hope none of my YouTube subscribers ever come in contact with a black-eyed child. I hope that no one here tries to evoke them through some type of occult ritual. Nothing really positive. I've never heard of anything positive happening through your interactions with them, with these particular beings. There are paranormal research to believe that black-eyed children are an expression of other beings that show up. For example, they're similar in certain ways to Men in Black, because Men in Black, when they show up after UFO sightings and these various things, they will come in with their black suits, but they'll have the pale skin that black-eyed children tend to have. They will have odd mannerisms and characteristics. They will, remember reading in John Keel's book on the Mothman prophecies, that, you know, he had accounts of where they would show up to diners and they would, trying to blend in, I suspect, they will start to try to eat food, but they can't quite get the utensils right. They can't use forks. They're fascinated, or spoons for soup. They will come across different things like just pens you write with, and they're completely fascinated. And, you know, thinking this is like the greatest thing they've ever seen. Now, 4 or 5-year-old, you know, wouldn't get that fascinated probably with forks and spoons, and, you know, and they know how to, you know, kind of navigate life much better than these particular characters. So, black-eyed children, vampiric. Also, I'll throw this out here. Rosemary Ellen Gilly, I mentioned her name as a paranormal researcher and prolific author, believes that some of this phenomenon, the Men in Black, even the black-eyed children, could be just images and expressions of other beings. That they could be, we talked about the jinn. Jinn are shapeshifters. If they are doing things, as I mentioned, to possibly cause fright in order to extract their energy. What's creepier than a child with black eyes? I don't know, that's pretty frightening. In any case, please subscribe and like. Avoid any black-eyed children. I know the only things with black eyes that I like are black-eyed peas, so you all have a good weekend. I'll put some links in the description, and I will see you all later. And by the way, I'll do a YouTube live next weekend, so if you want to be notified, click the little bell that's usually, you know, on my channel under the videos and things. All right, see you later. Bye-bye.